As I live my life, I am increasingly surprised by my strength, my determination, by the power of my beliefs. I find reward in the honesty of my endeavors, proud of what I have achieved, and convinced there is much more I can do.
This is Singapore Tonight.
Good evening, I'm Dawn Tan. Tonight's top stories. More than 3,800 flats across 4 estates up for sale in the latest build-to-order exercise. But ongoing projects could face further delays due to COVID-19 border measures. Cleaning firms tighten measures to reduce the risk of transmission across work sites, even if they haven't seen cases of coronavirus. New guidelines to improve ventilation and air quality in buildings. It's a bid to reduce transmission of COVID-19 indoors. More legal woe for the woman charged with not wearing a mask in public. She's been arrested for breaching other COVID-19 rules. Never run out of the essentials again. The first unmanned cashless store powered by robotics and AI is coming to the heartlands.
I'm Steve Lai. Also tonight, investigations show driver negligence to be the likely cause of a train collision in Kuala Lumpur. And Taiwan extends its COVID-19 alert till mid-June. Authorities are worried about a backlog of cases that have yet to be traced.
I'm Elizabeth Neo with your Asia Business Update. Singapore's industrial output slows further in April. Plus more guidance for the marine and offshore engineering sector to digitalize.
More than 3,800 flats across 4 estates are up for sale in the latest build-to-order exercise. But BTO projects are facing delays due to COVID-19. And analysts say that this could drive up demand for unsold units from previous launches, which usually have shorter completion timelines. Almost 2,500 of these flats are on offer for the first time this year. Natasha Razak has more.
This plot of land in Bukit Merah will be home to about 170 flats by 2027. It's the smallest BTO project launched this time and likely to be the most popular, according to experts. One reason is its location in the city fringe, close to malls like VivoCity and also the future Greater Southern Waterfront development.
The potential rental and resale value of the site should be quite high, and demand is expected to be strong. Especially since there's not been launched in Bukit Merah since 2013. So there is pent-up demand for that site. So we can expect application rates to be quite high, and it can go even in maybe more than 10 times oversubscribed for the first timers.
Among those applying are these university sweethearts who are hoping to get a 4-room unit and start a family.
It's near my parents' current house, so we are able to get that extra grant as well as the extra chance to get the BTO over there.
It's very convenient because it's near the MRT station.
Some 1,400 flats available for this project in Geylang are also expected to be popular, with McPherson MRT station right at their doorstep. The largest project offered is in Woodlands, with over 1,500 units, while almost 800 flats will be offered in Tengah. Analysts expect less competition in these non-mature estates, even though they'll be ready earlier in the third quarter of 2025. The government has said many BTO projects could be delayed by a year or more due to tighter border measures affecting the construction sector. So those who want a shorter wait can apply for about 2,500 units under HDB's latest sale of balance flats exercise. One analyst expects demand for these flats to be 20% higher than the previous exercise last November.
A lot of prospective applicants are looking for immediate occupations. Though the mature estates like Payoh, Bishan or Bukit Merah are very popular, we may see that the demand may still spill over to places like Bukit Batok, Choa Chu Kang.
Applications close on Monday. In a change, HDB did not reveal exact site locations for BTO projects to be launched in November. It says, going forward, such information will be provided about 3 months before the exercise when more details are firmed up.
The tourism and aviation-related sectors are likely to see a delayed recovery. That's because travel restrictions continue to be in place amid a rise in COVID-19 infections globally. Experts say these sectors are far from returning to pre-pandemic levels, and they point to a resurgence of infections and the emergence of new variants around the world. They say with major events like the Shangri-La Dialogue and the World Economic Forum being cancelled this year, Singapore's tourism industry outlook remains gloomy.
We just are not seeing the reopening of borders yet. And in fact, visitor arrivals remain very dismal. And if anything, even the domestic tourism may have taken a little bit of a step back due to the recent restriction measures. So a lot of people that were hoping to go for June staycations, for instance, probably have either delayed or cancelled some of their staycation plans.
Singapore's Phase 2 heightened alert could dampen some key sectors of the economy, but experts say that the impact on some businesses could be tolerable, and that's because current restrictions are less severe than they were during the circuit breaker last year. Singapore's economy grew by a better-than-expected 1.3% on-year in the first quarter. The government also maintained its growth forecast at 4 to 6%. Economists say whether the forecast changes or not will depend on how the global pandemic plays out in the next few months.
We have to note that Singapore is more dependent on external rather than domestic demand in terms of its GDP growth components. So the global economic recovery, which is being led by what we are seeing in US and China, where the reopening has already started, that will help to drive Singapore's external demand.
Analysts say that the pandemic situation within the ASEAN region is a big risk factor to Singapore. If neighbouring countries continue to grapple with the pandemic, it could have a spillover effect on Singapore's export demand and labour.
The key thing to watch also is not just what happens locally, but also what happens to our major trading partners. Because actually, if you look in the US and Europe, they're talking about loosening of restrictions with the vaccination progress. They are trying to open up some of the travel options as well. But, closer to home, if you look at what's happening in Malaysia and Japan and India, it's going the other way. So things are still very much in a state of flux.
Cleaning firms are limiting the number of locations that temporary staff are sent to daily. This is to minimize potential COVID-19 transmission. Some companies are also trying to deploy more vulnerable workers to low-risk locations. This comes after cases among cleaners emerged in a cluster linked to Changi Airport. Isabel Lim with more.
Cleaning companies are on high alert, with over 20 cleaners infected in the Changi Airport cluster. Those we spoke with are tightening measures to reduce risk of transmission across work sites, even if they haven't seen cases. This includes wiping out the practice of cross-deploying relief cleaners, who stand in when full-time staff are unable to work and travel to multiple locations daily.
They can actually go from project to project, covering more than 10 projects in a month. Depending on the off days or if any cleaners is clearing their annual leave or they're on medical leave. But right now, we do receive feedbacks from clients that they do not want to share relief cleaners.
By reallocating manpower, he's able to limit them to just one work site a day. Another firm, ESP Cleaning Services, had to almost double its number of relief cleaners, from 6 to 10 this month. Still, this group makes up less than 10% of the cleaning workforce for most firms CNA spoke with. Full-time cleaners, especially the older ones, are also being redeployed to keep them safe.
For cleaners that are actually on a more elderly side, we don't really deploy them to places that possess higher risk, such as dormitories or even like clinics as well. Because we find that that these two areas kind of withstand a higher risk.
NTUC says it's working with employers to encourage workers in this age group to get vaccinated and for companies to track their vaccination status. Elderly workers are also urged to speak out if they feel uncomfortable about